What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be working on this 2020 Honda Talon. We're going to be doing a bed extender, which is going to swing open like a tailgate, and it's going to have a spare mounted to it. I worked through yesterday. I didn't think I'd get this much done. I figured I would just start filming later, but I got quite a bit done. So let me run you on what's going on here. So factory cage is a 2-inch cage, so I got these 2-inch clamps from UTV distribution. I order all my tabs and clamps and all your cage plates, everything from them. They do really good. They get everything to you quickly, so huge shout out to UTV distribution. So see here, down here at the bottom, I got the arm plate bolted on. I got the lower tubes welded to this one. This is going to be the floor bar, so I'm actually going to put a plate in here to fill this gap. But for right now, the next step, I got to put a pipe from here up to here on both sides, just to box all that in together. And then behind that, I already have the next piece already bent. That's going to go here. It's going to sit just on top. It's going to be just a little bit wider. Everything kind of steps out with the cage. But after I put the vertical bar in here, I'm going to cut it and I'm going to put hinges in here, here and here. So that way this whole rear section is going to be like a tailgate. And I'm going to cut it on this side after I box it all together, and we're going to make it, it has a little pull latch. Let me show you the pieces I got over here. So here's our hinges. So those are going to go on one side, and then I'm going to have to make a plate, and this is a spring-loaded pull pin, like a latch. You pull it and then your door will swing open. So just have to do that on one side and then build a little tab with a hole on the other side for it to lock into and hold everything in place. So here's the pictures that I'm going off of. So far so good. We're almost there. So I'm gonna try to film the rest of this, try to make a good little video out of it. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright guys, we're gonna try something new. I got a little head cam here. So next step is gonna be these bars that go here to here. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna measure it. Looks like it's 11 3/4. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. So you're gonna take it 11 3/4 and you're gonna add 3/4 of an inch for the cope on each side. So you add 1.5 inches. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna cut that, and I'm gonna show you how to cope it. Alright guys, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your pipe. We're gonna look for 13 1/4. That's adding the 1.5 inches. We're gonna put a line there, and then we're gonna hack it, and then we're gonna throw it in the coper right here. We're gonna cope it. So what you do is you just line up your mark, tighten her up. Gonna have to plug it in here. Alright, and then let's hack it. Alright, so then what I like to do, I like to create a straight line, so I'll put my file on it flat. I'll give it a nice shiny clean line down the center. Alright, so now that we have our ends marked, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna trace over that line I did, just to give us that center point reference. Just to make sure when you put it in the coper here that you can actually see it clearly and easily. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put this in facing the side here where the bit is. See if I can get this on a good angle. So you're gonna line that up with the bit, and then you want to get down low and just kind of make sure that center line is centered. Hopefully the camera's getting a good view on it. And then I just do diff lube. It's cheap and it works great. And there we go.
So there's one side. Get the pieces in the trash. Let's flip it over here. There's another side. Alright, and then that's going to be that. Then you got to clean it up a little bit with the grinder. Let me go ahead and do that. Alright, let's see how she fits. So you might have to take a little bit out. So there's that. There's one. See, we can open it up a little bit. They're a little bit slightly different angles, so we'll have to twist them a little bit and make it lay in there a little bit nicer. So what I do for that, and that'll make it not fight so hard going in as well. So what I do is so like this side has a little bit of a gap and this side doesn't. So just want to kind of trace this one a little bit so you know where clearance, and then it'll lay down a lot better. And then the back side should be opposite sides. So let's see here if I can get my head in here. So then this one's gonna be this corner. And then this one should be this corner. So we'll go ahead and we'll open that up and it should go in a lot easier. So just do a couple quick adjustments. give that a shot. See, pops right into place now. Boom, much better. So I always want to leave just a little bit of room on the back side to get a nice weld around there. And then I'll have to get the level out here. Make sure that she's sitting right. So actually we're leaning forward a little bit, so I need to be a little bit off level. So it's probably got a little bit more than that. But I'll measure it out and I'll make sure it's right, 'cause it's. But as you can see, hopefully you can see, much better, much cleaner copes. All the gaps went away. Everything's nice and clean all the way around. I'll probably take the GoPro off the headset and just make sure I show you good. I'm not sure if you're seeing it or not. So, like I said, this is all it's first time doing the head cam, so we're just gonna see how it looks, see if we can get some cool angles for you guys. So, I'm gonna go ahead and take it off real quick, and I'll show you. So, here's to make sure you get like a nice, good view. I'll show you the bottom one. Nice, clean, tight all the way around. So that's that. I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate it for the other side, and let's get going on to the hinges. So just out of curiosity, when you're having a long day at work, what's your snack of choice? What's your candy of choice? You know, I like the sour crawlers. Put it in comments below, just what kind of snacks do you like, you know? Alright guys, so here's the middle bar. I kind of already did some pre-gaming, pre-planning off to the side here. So these here are identical marks because I did make these identical. I made this one just 1 inch bigger, so it's ½ an inch wider on both sides because the cage does taper out. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna cut that so I can cap it, and it's gonna be right up against it. So I went and I moved that forward ½ an inch, so it should close and it should be very, very tight. So then over on this side, what I did is I left that little lip in the back here for the weld. So that's about ¼ inch plus the 1 3/4 pipe, so that's 2 inches. So I put a line for 2 inches here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna hack the pipe here, leaving our 3/4 of an inch for the cope. And then at the 2 inches, I'm gonna cope it. And I added the center line. I don't know if you can see it, the real shiny line there. And I offset it just a little bit because the pipe does lean out. So the cope's gonna be slightly offset. It's gonna be leaning out. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do, I'm gonna go ahead and cut it to shorten it so I can get it in the coper, and I'm gonna go ahead and cope it there. And I'm gonna hack this end here, and I'm gonna cap it, and then it should sit in here nicely. And then all I gotta do is weld the coped end on, and then I'm gonna cut my 2½ inches for the hinge out. I'm gonna cut it and put it all back together, and it should sit in the same spot. So let's go ahead and give this a shot and see how it works out. All right, so here we go. I got it all lined up. I got the cope nice and pretty and perfect. I put some magnets in here to hold it all even spacing. And then I have a magnet here to make sure that it doesn't move there. It does have a slight little gap over there, but I have the back side lined up nice and straight and perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and tack this in place, and then I'm gonna flip to time lapse and I'm gonna weld it in. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna measure what that inside lip has on the hinge. We're gonna make sure it has just enough room for that. We're gonna mark our 2.5 inches and we're gonna cut this little section out. And then we're gonna lay this bar back in place. We're gonna weld the hinge in place. So let's go ahead and let's weld this up. All right, let's get it welded. Okay guys, so here's what's going on here. Here's what I did. I don't know if you could tell it in that time lapse. It might have been too quick. So I got 2 black lines there, I got 2 black lines there. So basically what I did is I put the hinge up against the thing, I gapped it out just a little bit, and then I put a line just inside where that tapered edge is, and then just inside where that tapered edge is. So by the time I cut it and I clean up the edges, the pipe should stay about exactly where it's at. It might move just a hair, but I'm gonna do the same thing there. So these are gonna be the 2 hinges. So before I go and cut this whole thing apart, I'm gonna go and add another bar like this, but I'm gonna go just to the left of this line, just to the left of this line, which is gonna box this arm in. And then on this other side here, I'm gonna go to the end of the tube and straight up, probably around where that mark is, just wherever the pipe lands straight. And then that's gonna be the end of our trunk. And then what I'm gonna do is where this bar lands, I'm gonna cut this little probably 1 inch section out. It's gonna be about 1 inch. I'm gonna cap it here, cap both of these, and that's gonna box off our tailgate. So, and then this is where that pull pin latch is gonna be. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do, I'm gonna bump the tubing size down to inch and a half. The pull pin latch has a 1.5 inch length here, so I'm gonna have to cut through the pipe, put this in the pipe, and hopefully get some good welds on it. I don't think I have anything smaller than that, so we're gonna go with 1.5 inch. We're just gonna make it work. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these 2 ends boxed in so that way this piece is solid, and then we're gonna cut it out, and then we can put the hinges, tack the hinges in on the car side so they stay in there, and then we'll shove this back on it, and we should be able to fully weld everything, and it should sit where it's at now. So let's go ahead and give this a shot. Alright guys, so here we go. So I got the little one here on the end, little gap here and there, enough to get a weld in there. Alright, so now that I have everything almost fully welded, this end one is fully welded. The middle one and that side one I did not fully weld. I'll just do it once I cut it off and have it on the bench. So I went ahead and I cut this bracket, drilled the hole already. It's going to go ahead and be our latch right here. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on there. And I'm going to weld that in place just like that. So that way this side is perfectly in place and good to go. I'm gonna have that done before we cut it out, and then the next thing we're gonna cut it out, weld in the hinges, cap these ends, and then we're gonna be done. Alright, so here we are guys. I'm going to make a quick little template here. Try to trace around the top, the middle of the pipe, and then cope it just around it. Probably just keep it straight there because it's going to end right here where the tubing ends. So we're going to modify that a little bit. Did the same thing over here. But the important thing is it's not going to go back to this line. The plastic trim underneath is all the way up there. So what I did on the other side, if you can see it, I just did a real rough trace around that, and then where the tube ends right there is where we're going to meet it up. So I'm going to add that little line across. Alright, so here's our template. I'm going to go ahead and get it onto metal. It's a pretty good fit, pretty close fit. We're gonna go ahead and get it on metal, and then we'll do our minor trimming to make sure everything is nice and even and good and smooth. It looks pretty good though. So let's get it on a metal here, and then we're gonna probably stamp like 3 or 4 dimples into it. All right, so here I got it traced out onto the steel here. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut all the straight lines with the grinder, the cutoff wheel. And then all this more rounded, precise stuff, I might hit with the plasma real quick and then hit it with the sander or the flapper disc. Just clean it all up.
And then I'm gonna hit the top and the bottom. I like to hit it with the DA sander. It just brightens it up real good and quick. See, I'll show you a little spot. But it'll brighten it up. Quick and easy and even and smooth, and it just makes it look really nicely. So let's go ahead and get it cut out. Alright, so here's where we're at. I got that cut out. I got it coped, got it all even on the back sides here with the tubing. Got it nice and around, got it down the center of the pipe all the way around. So now what I'm gonna go ahead and do, I'm gonna probably put 3 hole saws in there and stamp 3 dimple dies in there. Go ahead and give it a little bit of strength to hold the floor sturdy, and it just looks really good. We're gonna go ahead and throw 3 dimple dies in there. Probably 2-inch. Then we're gonna go ahead and weld that in place. And then the last thing I'm gonna have to do to this is we're gonna have to put a piece of tubing out with a plate. I do have 4 studs, and we're gonna mount a spare tire right here. And then I think that's gonna be it. We're gonna take it off, we're gonna paint it, bolt it back on, and we're gonna send it home. So let's go ahead and get those dimples put in there, and then we're gonna start doing the spare. Let's see. Sorry, trying to juggle this with one hand here. Get it lined up better. I have showed this and explained this in other videos. So basically what you do is you hole saw it, you put your dimple through it, you put your top one on, and then you stamp it. And as you stamp it, it will curve. And as you're finishing it, it will pull it back straight, as you just saw there. And then here, when it gets tight, you go a little bit further. I like to just crush it into the pipe a little bit there, just to make sure that this is all the way. And then that should be it. Let me show you guys here. And then this is what you get. Here's the back side. Here's the front side. Nice, clean dimple die. Adds a lot of strength and structure to the material. And honestly, it just looks really cool. Looks really clean. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna drop this in place. And we're gonna get it all welded in. Let's see, just like this right here. So that's that. So as you can see, there's the dimples. And then it adds, well, once I weld it, it'll be solid. Right now it's still moving around. When you push here, it's pulling on the edges, so. Let's get it welded in, and then I'll show you guys. Alright, so for the spare tire, I went ahead and cut out this plate, held it up behind it, and traced the studs, the stud holes with the Sharpie, and then I went ahead and drilled them out, and I went and got some studs from O'Reilly's. Went ahead and bolted it to the wheel. I'm going to go ahead and weld the back sides of all the studs, and that's going to be our spare plate. And then after that, I'm going to cut a piece of pipe long enough to hold it out. We're going to weld it to it, and I'm going to put a triangle gusset, probably top and bottom, and then that's it. We're all going to be all done. Alright, so here we go. I have the bottom gusseted on both sides. Should be nice and strong, nice and sturdy. Shouldn't go anywhere. Let's go ahead and get the spare on, see how it looks. Alright guys, so here you have it. Spare's mounted on. There is a little bit of a gap. He said he's gonna go to the bigger tires. He's gonna get different wheels. He asked me to leave a little bit of a gap there. So here you go. Fits nicely. Nice and tight. Nice and sturdy. I only threw 2 lugs on there for now just because I have to take it back off because he hasn't yet purchased a spare. So I went ahead and just took one of the rears off just to get it done. So there you have it. So let me back up here so you can kind of see it. So let's go ahead and swing it open here so you can see the floor. So there you go. There's the dimples. So see, nice and sturdy. So that's gonna be a wrap. Alright, so here we go, fully painted, bolted back on, ready to go home. He still has to buy a spare, so it's gonna go home like this. He said he is gonna order all 5 wheels and tires, so they should all be matching, and he's gonna go up to, I think he said 32s. So here we are, all nice and clean. So that's gonna be a wrap for this video. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.